Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast, the Big 5-0. We have made it,
Let's
ladies and
go.
gentlemen, the Big 5-0. We got a huge episode for you guys. AFC, NFC championship games wrapping up. So this one's going to be a big one. Honestly, we're not doing too much to celebrate the Big 5-0. We got a little bit of a special one for you guys next week. It's kind of unfortunate that it didn't fall on the Big 5-0, but we'll do something special for the 5-1. How about that? Without further ado, get into a little bit of a recap of our lives. Fezzy boy, how's life over there? How's Owen? I feel like you never talk about him. What's going on over there?
I don't talk much about him. I mean, it's probably not a good thing, but he's currently sick, just like you. So he's kind of fighting that off. Taylor said he had a better day today, but yeah. Also, I think I'm always apologizing on here for messing something up with the podcast. That is my bad. I thought that number 50 was going to be the big special episode, but I totally dropped the ball and forgot about the bye week that they have between the Super Bowl and the championship game. So that's on me. 51 will be a good episode for you guys. We got some special things coming for that episode, but life so far, not too bad. Enjoying some of the warmer weather, I guess you could say. 60s, like low 60s, opposed to 25 and snow or whatever's going on that last week. But no, enjoying that because I've been working outside this past week, and it would be absolutely miserable if it was still freezing. But doing all right. I'm better, but I think my son caught whatever I had, and now he's currently dealing with that. So we canceled some plans this weekend just due to him being sick. But same old, just grinding, working hard, every day. Honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely nice when that 63-degree wind hits you and you don't get the chills after it passes through. So that's definitely nice, especially for you folk that are still working outside. So that's definitely
you folk.
A little recap about me. Obviously went to a pretty big I guess you could call it outing. We just went to an event, or I did. Joy actually stayed home, but youth event up in the mountains, past TR, with a bunch of the kids at my youth group. So much fun. Obviously, a great time with good sessions. Loads of sports being played. Ultimate frisbee, soccer. Soccer's the best up there, man. Like they have a turf field, but it's like like they have walls. It's like a hockey rink.
That's dope.
So yeah, you can play it off the wall, and like it gets pretty intense with all the kids, and we play like 9v9 or something crazy. So it always gets pretty lit. So a lot of sports being played. It was so cold up there. Now that we're talking about the weather, literally never really got above like 35, and at night it was like low 20s. It was not the vibe, but once you get moving around, it's not too bad. But
what were sleeping situations like?
Oh, it wasn't bad. The cabins are all heated and everything.
Oh, that's nice. Okay,
it was really no big deal. Without that, dude, that was gonna be a struggle bus. But
I bet.
Thankfully survived that. Really good time. Even with the other leaders that went up there. So, all that being said, I'm now sick a little bit. I'm not really sure where I got it from. I don't know if it was the crazy temperatures up at the cabins, or if I got it from somebody at work, or what was going on there. But trying to recover from a little something here. Had the chills earlier in the week. So not the greatest thing for me this week, but I got to work from home a couple of days, so can't really beat that. So no complaints from me. But yeah, without further ado, we'll kind of get into the football. Obviously, we're at the most exciting part of the NFL season. I feel like we kind of been saying that for the last couple of weeks, obviously with the wild card and divisional rounds and everything. But now we're down to the last two teams. But before we get into the Super Bowl preview, we're going to talk a little bit about the championship games from the last four that happened this last weekend. Let's get into it.
Let's get it. Freaking championship games, dude. So much to unpack from these games.
Yeah, you're gonna have
at least
to
the Bills-Chiefs games.
Yeah.
What's that?
You're gonna have to carry a little bit on the Eagles, because I don't remember anything that happened in the first half really, except for Saquon's like huge run.
Yeah, I honestly had it on, but I wasn't watching it too in depth. But yeah, I can talk about kind of just the overall game. I can't get in, but anyways. I
Sure.
digress.
Yeah. Hopping right into it. Commanders at Eagles. This is the first game of the Sunday slate of championship games. Eagles take the dub in this one at 55-23. Honestly, never really looked in doubt, to be honest, for the old
No,
Eagles. Saquon once again running ragged. Not as many yards this time as the last round, but he still had 118 yards, 3 total
crazy.
touchdowns for the Eagles. Absolute video game numbers here, really, for old Saquon Barkley, running behind the best O line in the game. Hurts adds 3 more touchdowns on the ground, which is absolutely wild. Everyone knows kind of what I think about Jalen Hurts getting down there at the 1 and getting his tush pushed right into the end zone. But what do you got to say about the old Eagles coming in through here? And I guess a little bit of a wrinkle that we can talk about is what do you think about the play all the way down at the goal line when they're trying to hard count like 5-6 times, get called for encroachment, and then they got called for like a false, like whatever, like 2-3 times, in the refs saying that they could award a touchdown. That
That's
that kind
wild.
of
Yeah.
that turned some heads for sure. So what do you got to say about the game in general, and maybe about that play in particular?
Yeah, I thought the game was going to be a lot closer than it was. It really was kind of close in the first half, but in the
Yeah.
second half, the Eagles just kind of took off, and obviously right behind Saquon again, taking off for that 60+ yarder right
Right.
there, like first play from scrimmage. It was just nuts. But no, the Commanders drove down like first drive of the game, and I was like, dude, this might be a game. Like we might have a shootout. Jalen's gonna have to start throwing the ball. They're not gonna rely on Saquon, but that wasn't how it went. Obviously,
Right.
again, a light 118 yards for Saquon. That's kind of just like does that in his sleep.
Right.
The sequence, I guess you could say, down at the goal line. I did not even know that was a thing, and I was listening to some other big talk shows the next day who were saying like, yeah, like we didn't even know that was a thing too. Like you could reward them points if they kept, and it makes sense because like it keeps teams from like intentionally doing that. Like, oh yeah, they're just gonna call off sides and keep them from getting into the end zone. So it definitely makes sense. But at the same time, I was like, what's that guy supposed to do? Like, they're either gonna get in or he's gonna be able to time the snap and actually stop it. So like, I don't fault. What was the player's name? It was like Luvu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luvu. Like, I don't fault him for what he did, but I mean, tush push is just automatic down there in Philly. So, or I guess up there in Philly.
Yeah. I think it's whack. I
For
think it's so
sure.
dumb that they just like can award points.
Yeah.
Because like, what is the defense supposed to do down there? Like, just oh yeah,
Right.
let's let them snap it. Get the It's already like a hotly contested thing that the Eagles tush push is illegal anyway. One,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not really supposed to. I mean, I think it's technically legal, but it just looks so wrong to be able to just push a guy into the end zone. And two, technically every single one of their tush pushes, like the center, his head is like beyond the ball, which is technically
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be a penalty. But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All that being said, just snap the ball, dude. Like it's an automatic
Yeah.
1 yard anyway. So I don't
Right.
I don't blame the Commanders at all for trying to time it and stop them. That's really the only way you can stop them. Obviously, with
Mm-hmm.
that great O line and Hurts and the 2 tight ends that come behind him and push him in, like they're gonna get 6 inches every time. So I think it's dumb they can just award points like that, but whatever. Obviously, people are gonna take that a certain way because I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat, but uh, whatever. I just thought
Yeah.
that was whack. But what do you got to say about the Commanders? Obviously, incredible run by them this season. Absolutely,
Crazy.
no one saw them coming. Daniels basically a lock for Rookie of the Year. Personally, I thought that Daniels played really really well this game. His teammates maybe not quite stepping up as much as he did. Obviously, a couple fumbles really hurt them when they were trying to come back in the game. But what do you got to say about the Commanders? Just their run overall and how they're looking for the future here.
Yeah, no, I mean their future's like solidified with Daniels. He took a below average team as a rookie to the NFC championship game. Like that's just crazy. And obviously he's solidified himself as having one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history, obviously. I honestly was rooting for them. I don't think it would have been that much of a good Super Bowl if they got in because they definitely would be They would definitely would
They
have
would have
been swimming
lost.
with the Sharks. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Like whether it was the Bills or Chiefs that got in, they would have probably smoked Washington. But regardless, I really like Daniels. I like his demeanor. I like how the other day he was talking about watching the Super Bowl, and he's just like, I'm not a bitter individual. I'll be watching it. Like those guys worked hard to get there. Like he just
Yeah.
has a good head on his shoulders, which is really cool. It's easy to root for a guy like that. He's gonna be good for the next 10, 15 years. So I don't think the Commanders, barring some horrible like injury or just like falling apart, I think they're gonna be right in the mix for a long time because they're just gonna get better. They're gonna get a better roster, their coaches are going to get better, and it's just I think they're going to be there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. The road is definitely there for them. I feel like the NFC is obviously a lot more wide open than the AFC is. The AFC is
Yeah.
kind of top heavy with like 6 or 7 teams really. But the NFC is a lot more wide open. Like I was saying, they have really good pieces. They obviously have Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, McLaurin. If they get, another wide receiver that can really contribute, QB positions locked up for the foreseeable future, barring any injuries, that defense is only going to get better. Dan Quinn's a defensive guy, so he's gonna whip those boys up into shape. So, it's never a guarantee that you get back to the position that you were. Obviously, these windows kind of open and close rather quickly here in the NFL. But yeah, definitely don't count them out in the NFC going forward. So um, Eagles make it to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years for a rematch against the Chiefs. Obviously, we'll talk about the Super Bowl preview here in a little bit. But without further ado, we'll get into the moneymaker from the weekend here.
Yes,
Before we get
sir.
into it, though, 58 million people watched this game on Sunday,
That's
which
crazy.
the most out of, I believe, both AFC and NFC championship games all time. Definitely in the AFC for sure. Chiefs coming out with the dub, 32-29.
Oh.
Obviously, this hurt Fezzi's heart just a little bit more, being
Yeah.
from the New York area. Giants and Jets aren't actually from New York, so we root for the Bills when you're from New
Yes,
York.
sir.
What do you got to say about this? Right off the bat here, I'll kind of open the dialogue to you before we get into some of the stats and talking points in this one.
Yeah, dude. I we were texting a little bit right after, and I was absolutely gutted. I don't think I had been this emotionally invested in an NFL game in a very long time. And honestly, I haven't felt this disappointed like watching a game like a regular season playoff or Super Bowl, honestly, since Tom Brady came back against the Atlanta Falcons in that one. I can't remember. Was that like 2017, 2016? What
16, I
Super
want
Bowl
to
was it?
say. I was still in
16?
high school, so
Yeah. But regardless, like that's what I can like what I feel like it's equal to, like the amount of sadness I felt just
yeah,
sitting there watching like Josh Allen, someone like I root for as a person, anyways, just lose again. And just watching his press conferences after, dude, absolutely gutted for the guy. But I mean, you gotta. He said it perfectly. Like to be the champs, you gotta beat the champs, and
yeah,
they just didn't get it done. I mean, we'll get into some of the calls, and I have opinions on that. But at the end of the day, a good team won. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh yeah, like the worst team won, which would have been worse. But like they found a way to do it. And honestly, the whole time I was sitting there, I was just like, I think everybody in America, everybody on that field, just kind of like knew how the game was in the fourth quarter that the Chiefs were gonna pull it out, regardless of what you're hoping for. So yeah, it was sad.
yeah. Yeah, Allen's obviously a dude with a lot of class. The way he loses every year, and shows a lot of class doing it. I saw a reel this past weekend, cutting like every loss, kind of the interview afterwards. And each year, like he gets like progressively more depressed. Like his
Yeah.
first year he loses, like he's still like hopeful, like, yeah, it's tough, but whatever, hope, blah, blah, blah. Second year, a little bit more depressed, like tough to lose 2 years in a row. And then like 23, it's, more depressed. And then like, this year it's just size and, looking down and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
like you said, you're not going to find a classier dude for sure. But yeah, we'll get into some of the stats here. Bills lose to the Chiefs for the fourth time in 5 seasons, which is absolutely insane. They're undefeated against the Chiefs in the regular season, but 0-5 now against
Yeah, that
them in the
hurts.
postseason. or 0-4, I think. Um, Patty Mahomes rushing for 2 TDs in this huge win, throwing for another. Josh Allen as well, playing his butt off, throwing for
Yeah.
2. James Cook adds 2 more on the ground. Ultimately, not enough. These methodical Chiefs, man. Obviously, they were ahead a little bit. 2 scores. I
Yeah.
think most of the first half and into the third, but Allen and the boys coming back on them. But let's get into obviously the most controversial part of the whole game. Was Joshy Allen, was he short on that? Was it fourth? I think it was fourth,
Yeah,
right?
it was fourth and like
Fourth and inches, I think.
literal inches.
What was
Yeah.
he short? Let's get into it. Obviously, you're gonna speak as a Bills fan, but yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, obviously I'm gonna speak as a Bills fan. But in my honest opinion, we shouldn't have even been in that situation. If you go back and you watch the this atrocious spot that they gave Dalton Kincaid on that third down
Yeah.
was terrible. Like I went
Mhm.
back and watched it a couple times. And I was like, okay, so the line that they put on the field, like when you're watching on TV, that's obviously not accurate. So you have to go on the actual line. And from everything I watched, and again, like the angles are different, and you're watching on TV, we're not there, so you got to give the refs the benefit of the doubt. But it really looked like Dalton Kincaid got that first down. Like so,
Mhm.
in my mind, we shouldn't have even been in that fourth down situation. And then from all the angles I saw, and you even heard Gene Steratore on the call talking with Tony Romo, and he was saying, I would have given it to him. Like
Mhm.
he's like, I think there's a quote of him saying, he believes that Allen got the first down by at least a third of the ball, just
Yeah.
from the angles that they were showing us. But I looking back, honestly, it's not really that wasn't really the game in my opinion too. Um, I think we'll get
There's
into
no guarantee
another.
that there's score after that either. Like maybe they get
Yeah,
a field goal out of it, but
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that was the game. That's just kind of the call in the game that people are going to point to and be like, oh yeah, they got robbed. And I
Mhm.
feel a little robbed. I don't think that it decided the game. There was obviously another drive, another play that we'll get into that really did cost them the game. But in my personal opinion, shouldn't have been in that situation. But even then, I think he got the first down. I
yeah.
do.
Yeah, I generally agree. Generally speaking with what you were saying. I saw something from I think it's called like objective refereeing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um and they made a good point, like the angle that everybody was looking at on the TV isn't like right on the line. It's like a little bit behind the line by like a yard. So from the vantage point of the camera, like it looks like he got it, like the where the marker is. Like it looks like he got it because it's not like right on the line. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a point that was made. But like I agree with what you said. I think that the Kincaid spot before that was definitely a little questionable at the very least for sure. But I feel like again, this stuff is so magnified with the Chiefs now. But like, there's calls like that in like every single game. Like there's so many playoff games where you're like, dude, that was a massive call that got blown or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like I feel like it's just magnified because it's the Chiefs and they always, like we talked about last week, it's the timing of the calls.
Mm-hmm.
Third downs, fourth downs, four, third quarters, fourth quarters, things like that. So maybe it's a little bit more magnified. But another
Mm-hmm.
point that the page that I was looking at made was like two of the touchdowns that the Buffalo Bills had, there were false starts on both of them as well. Like I remember seeing it live. Like the right guard,
Yeah.
I think on one of James Cook's touchdowns, he false started. Like there's no doubt in my mind they're false starting. And like I don't know the one that Josh threw. I think the only touchdown that he threw, I think the left tackle false started. Like he did one of those little jump things you always see Jawan Taylor do on the Chiefs. So I mean, it's if they was really like rigged against the Chiefs, I feel like they'd be calling that because they'd be trying to find every little thing to find to benefit the Chiefs. So
Yeah.
we'll see how everything kind of plans out. Obviously, people are gonna kick and scream about it, but um yeah, like you said, there's no guarantee that the Bills even score on that. It's a brutal spot in the play before, but we'll get into the last drive that the Bills had. Obviously, a great
Mm-hmm.
drive by them, driving down the field late. Um, but I think it was fourth down they had to go for. I don't know if it was 10 or 12 yards, but it was a good ways to go.
Yeah.
Steve Spagnuolo bringing the blitz, man. I
Same.
don't have enough like amazing things to say about him. Like I'm not a defensive
Yeah.
guy, but just watching his defense, dude, and watching them execute is something special for sure. Like he always brings
Absolutely.
blitzes at the right time. Obviously on a crucial play, he brings everybody and is forcing Josh Allen to run to his right there, and just an
Mhm.
incredible ball that he puts up for Dalton
Oh my
Kincaid.
word.
Basically right at the line to gain. Kincaid's got to come down with that, man. What do you guys say about old Dalton there?
I mean, it's so easy being a couch quarterback and like sitting there and being like, oh, he should have caught that. I would have caught that. You're getting paid millions of dollars, this, that, and the other. Um, I mean, I think at the end of the day, he really should have. I think Kincaid thinks that too, because as soon as he dropped it, he rolled over, put his hands on his helmet. Like you knew that like he was just like, man, I should have come down with that. And to this day, I think he thinks that, and we all think that. So I think he definitely should have come away with it. I think that's just the bigger picture with this Mahomes versus Josh Allen is like, and we'll get into it. I seen the next play that we'll talk about, but just these guys that are constantly doing their jobs, coming up with big plays for Mahomes. Like Mahomes is giving them a chance to make these plays, and they make the plays for him. Josh is doing the same thing. Like you were saying, incredible play. That corner blitz, McDuffie blitzes from way outside, straight through, free runner.
Yeah.
Josh Allen throws it down the field as he's getting hit, somehow gets it to where Kincaid can make a play on it with like three defenders all around him, and you just got to come up with that. That's how you win these big games, and obviously they haven't come up with it. Also, I don't see it in the doc, so I just wanted to get your opinion. But on last drive that the Bills had, they didn't use Cook at all. At all.
Yeah.
And he was like, not
He
to
was
be like,
killing it.
no pun intended, he was cooking. Like
Yeah,
he
he
was
was.
cooking that whole game. Like, so I don't know, what do you think they were thinking or doing without playing him?
I have no idea, dude. I feel like it's a almost a regular occurrence that teams' game plans just kind of go haywire against the Chiefs for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like you said, he was cooking. Maybe they were trying to save a little bit of time. Maybe they were trying to learn from their mistakes from last year when they didn't really utilize Josh Allen like they were really supposed to in the championship game last year. I'm really limiting him. So maybe they were just trying to put it in their best player's hands, which I understand. But like you said, he was cooking for sure. So, but yeah, it's a tough couple of weeks for the tight ends. Both last week for Mark Andrews and this week. Those are catches you see, dozens of times throughout the season, but just not to be in these two games here. But yeah, like you said, not really sure what was going on there with James Cook. But another big time reception from a running back was on the Chiefs side. Chiefs get the ball back after that fourth down, and they did struggle a little bit just to kind of close the game out. Kind of running it, staying conservative, but Andy Reid, man, coming out with a huge risk and passing it on that third down. Crossing route by Samaje Perine, his only reception of the day. I don't think he even ran it either. So just guys being ready, man. That's the Chiefs DNA, I feel like. And obviously he scampers for that first down relatively easily. But what do you got to say about that huge risk and just kind of the Chiefs being ready for all those moments like that?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to it's coaching. I like McDermott. I don't think they're gonna get rid of him. I think they need to get maybe like a younger offensive coordinator that's gonna have more ideas. But Andy Reid's he's been there, done that. Great offensive mind, and like you said, he knows when to take those risks. Like there were some plays and some decisions that the Bills took, like early in the game, that I was like, I mean, I like the aggressiveness, but like let's not throw the game away like way too early. For example, the two missed 2-point conversions that we missed early in
Yeah,
the game. That's 4
definitely.
points we left on the table, and we lost the game by 3. Now, obviously, that's not like a 1-to-1 correlation because, like, if we get those points, the Chiefs play it differently. But
Yeah.
some people are pointing to that, like We left the points on the table that would have won the game in a sense. But no, they just know when to take the risks, and they always have like one or two plays at the end of the game that they just haven't shown, maybe even all year, that they use in big moments, and that was one of them. That I don't think they ran that at all year, and when it was a gotta have it play, they made it and came up big for them.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing I saw from the game was on two of the Chiefs scores, they ran like the exact same play. It was just one of them was a keeper on the first touchdown to Kareem Hunt, and the second one was Patty Mahomes, pulling it and getting in behind Kelsey on that one. So, just interesting different wrinkles and stuff by Andy Reid. I think one of the big reasons that the Chiefs are kind of always in these games, like you saw the reaction after they won, like so many players were like crying and like just really emotional and stuff. And I feel like that's what kind of keeps them winning, is like they treat every time as if it's their first. And, just staying with it, staying focused, like not getting fatigued, I guess, of winning. Like I don't know how you can really when you're a professional athlete, like you want to keep winning. But
Right.
saw Chris Jones crying when we got to the Super Bowl. We saw another defensive player just kind of jumping up and down with joy. So it's just interesting to see kind of that DNA, like I said a little bit earlier. But yeah, Chiefs make the Super Bowl for the 5th time in 6 years. Looking
Crazy.
for an unprecedented three-peat. So we'll see if they're able to kind of pull that off.
Yeah, bro.
We'll kind of give a big time Super Bowl preview next week. We're not going to get into it too much this week. We still have the Pro Bowl to watch, even though I won't be watching that probably at all.
Some flag football.
Yeah,
Some flag
exactly.
football.
So we'll have a big time preview about that. Basically,
Yeah.
just a Super Bowl special episode. So we'll leave the preview to next week, but I'm just going to touch on the coaching carousel really quick. Brian Schottenheimer officially signed with the Dallas Cowboys, promoting him from our offensive coordinator position. Everybody's kind of saying, what the heck, what are we doing, kind of thing. So I don't have much of a reaction to it. Like I said, the last few weeks, it's very much a Jerry hire, just someone he can control. Someone that's not going to make too much noise, going to bow the knee to Jerry and whatever he wants. I don't think he's the worst, offensive coordinator in the world. Like, there's worse hires, I guess. But yeah, tough hire after all the guys that were out there, for sure. Last I heard, we're bringing Matt Eberflus in to be our defensive coordinator. So that's another, big time name that everybody wants out there. So, yeah, that's a good signing for us Cowboys, if you know what I mean. So,
good stuff.
Another one, Pete Carroll to the Raiders.
Huge.
This is a big time hire for sure. Raiders basically don't have anything going for them except for Max Crosby and now Pete Carroll. So we'll see what the kind of job that he's able to do with those boys over there. See if he's able to kind of, get them back in the running for anything really. So what do you think about these couple hires here? I don't know if you have too big opinions on either one of them. You got Liam Cohen going to the Jags as well. You can touch on that a little bit if you'd like to as well.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Dallas hire. Obviously, he was your OC. I think he was like hot stuff like 15 years ago, like some big time coordinator was kind of.
He's the son of a big time head coach, Marty Schottenheimer, who did a lot of good things in the 80s and 90s with the Redskins. So he's got the name, but not much else.
Not much else going for him. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just agree with you. It's definitely just kind of like a hire to be a pawn, because like Jerry just wants someone who's looking for an opportunity and will take any opportunity. Like Schottenheimer doesn't care what it's going to look like. He's just happy to be a head coach at this point. Pete Carroll, cool to see him back in the NFL, going to the Raiders, which I think is great for them. They definitely have been missing a winning culture, and that's what he's going to bring. He's a winner. He's not no mess around, get things done type of person. Kind of like a Vrabel hire. Like they just needed some sort of stability with the coaching hire, and I think that's what they're going to get with Pete Carroll. I know nothing about Liam Cohen other than his viral sensation going on with him, like going like Duval, like all that nonsense going on. So I know he was offensive coordinator for the Bucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like when the season ended, he told like all those guys he wasn't gonna go anywhere, and then all of a sudden, Jags were like, "Yeah, hey, how about you come over here?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm out." And I don't blame him for that. Like this might, if it goes horribly wrong, like this could be his only chance to be a NFL head coach, get your money and get out, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But
Just shows
yeah,
you how coveted the NFL head coaching positions are. Like even though it's the Jags, like he's gonna go over there and try his hand at it. It may have been the only one that he really had as far as
yeah,
offers are concerned. But yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
The Bucks
yeah,
too. Like
definitely.
I mean, they made the playoffs, but I wasn't hearing really much of anything about him being like a big time like coveted asset or anything. And then he gets the head coaching job. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, like all year you heard like the Bucks can move the ball down the field, but they weren't like game wreckers. They weren't like blowing teams out and stuff like that. So it was kind of a bit of like, I don't know, just kind of out of left field hire. But honestly, this coaching cycle went super fast. Like Ben
Yeah.
Johnson signed like right away after Detroit was out, and then Aaron Glenn signed right away when he was out, and then from there, I think like those were kind of like the top two in this cycle. Well, Vrabel signed before playoffs even happened, and he was like the top. So kind of like all three of the top coaching candidates like were hired like super quick, and then they were kind of left with like, you had Pete Carroll, and then you're kind of grasping at straws for who you're gonna get next. Which then out of left field we got Liam Cohen going to the Jags. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe he turns that franchise around and starts winning, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's basically the end of all the big time positions that are available. I would have loved to see John Gruden get a position somewhere, dude. I've been watching some of his clips on Barstool. He's so funny, dude. And I feel like he's
hilarious,
a football genius, but I don't think he's going to be coaching anytime soon, unfortunately. But
probably not. He's funny though.
Yeah, he is funny. That basically kind of wraps up the football portion of this podcast. Like I touched on earlier, we'll have a big time Super Bowl preview episode, basically exclusively on the Super Bowl next week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, without further ado, we'll get into the football part of the podcast. Hopping over the pond for a little Champions League action. We enjoyed the final day, or some of us did, of the Champions League. Final day here. All 18 matchups going on at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely love to see it. Wasn't too much to be decided as far as like who's in or who's out, except for one matchup. Really, we'll get into that in a little bit. Really, just the seeding and who kind of gets those that first round bye. Obviously, the top 8 get the first round bye, and then 9 through 24 or 5, I believe, will get into the round of 16. So we'll get into the results in just a second. But Fezzy boy, tell us the reason you weren't really into the Champions League final days here, weren't able to watch.
Oh, it made me so upset, man. Like part of the reason I love March Madness so much is because you have just the stimulation of having like multiple games on in your face, just going on. Can't help but just like watch all of it and just get all the action. Yeah, unfortunately, 18 games all at the same time. First time this has happened. I think it was because of the new format, obviously, but
yeah, before they would do like the groups would have games at the same time. So never all 18 at once though.
Right. Yeah. So 18 games on at the same time, and your boy wasn't able to watch a single one because obviously the pitfalls of loving a European sport is their prime time is at 3:00, and I'm currently still at work. 2 hours left in my day. So I technically could have watched the Juventus Benfica game, but I was driving, so I wouldn't have been able to really watch it. And so
don't you just love that the workday here ends like exactly when the games supposedly end too?
Yeah, it's super frustrating. I remember when I first moved here, and I was working at SC Home Offer, which was a small remodel company that I worked at with our buddy Peter. And Sammy Boy worked there for a hot minute there when he graduated college too. But basically how it worked, we were able to make our own schedules. So during the Champions League weeks, I definitely would bow out at 3:00 and go watch those bad boys. But obviously I can't do that now. So I have a little bit of analysis, but I'm not going to have too much for you guys because I wasn't able to keep up with all the games, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, not too hot as far as that's concerned. But I was able to watch a good bit of them. I had the Golazo show on Paramount Plus up. That's
Dope.
basically like a glorified red zone for those of you NFL lovers. Um, Absolutely amazing invention, by the way. Absolutely love it. The announcers aren't quite as good as our boy Scott Hansen, but still a really good show that just gives you just a just an overall view of all the games that were going on, the goals, the highlights, things like that. Usually there's a lot more highlights and misses, but obviously with 18 games going on, it was just goal, 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 goal.
That's
So it was
crazy. That's awesome.
pretty nuts, but great show nonetheless. Getting into some of the results here, like I said, not too much as far as um, you know um, teams getting in or out, except for one game that we'll get to at the very end. Really just a seeding fest here. But the first one that we'll get into is Liverpool blowing it against a PSV team who has been very solid throughout the season. PSV punching their ticket to the next round, ending up in 14th. Liverpool, this is their first loss of the Champions League season. They have won 7 games and lost only one, which was this game. So they solidified their spot at the very, very top of the Champions League table here. So they'll be going in as the number 1 seed.
Yes, sir.
Just a tough game for Liverpool. They weren't playing all their starters. They had a red card pretty late in the game by
See that.
a youngster who was like 18 years old. Like he was on for about 5 minutes.
Amara Nalo?
Yeah, he's from their academy, fresh up, but he was on the field about 5-10 minutes, and there's a through ball, and he just had no idea that the winger was behind him. He was still like 35, 40 yards from his goal, but he just took him out, like he just dragged him down. It's like automatic red. So
Interesting.
that didn't help their game here, but obviously they still go through as the number 1 team going into the knockout round.
Ricardo Pepi scoring the winner.
Happy,
Let's
bro.
go.
Yeah, he's been having a good season over at the PSV ranks. So
I saw that he's hurt now. He's going to be out for
is he
months. He had a knee injury in that game, apparently.
really?
I didn't
Must
watch,
have
so I
gone
didn't
down.
know. I just saw the news on Instagram earlier today. That's not good, not good.
Well, that's good because that means he won't be called up for the U.S. men's national team. But anyways, moving straight along here.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and moving on to the next game here, Benfica beating Juve. Juve just really struggling all around. Just wanted to kind of mention this game just because, just in general, Italian teams really struggling in the Champions League in general. Milan also losing to Zagreb, who are already out of the tournament, nothing to play for.
Yeah.
So Milan, they're down in 13th, but not
Yeah,
too
that
long
dropped
ago
us
they were
out
the
of the
top
top
3.
8.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before the game started, I think y'all were in 7th. So obviously
Yeah.
dropping down, not a great look for the men over there. What do you have to say about the Italian teams kind of struggling here? Obviously Inter Milan going through number 4, but they're kind of struggling in the league a little bit. Milan and Juventus go through 13th and 20th respectively, but skids by both teams here late. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, it's not a good look for these especially these two teams that have two of our best well, I guess technically 3 of our best. No, 4. Holy cow. Jeepers, we got them all over in the Serie A. Yeah, because we got Weah and McKennie at Juve, which was cool to see. McKennie was actually captain for this game against Benfica, which was kind of nuts to see. But Weah and McKennie at Juve, and then Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa at Milan. I got some words for Yunus Musa. I was saying this before pod, but like, bro, I understand. So I watched the highlights of the Milan game because I did see that Christian had a good game. He scored the one goal that we had. I can't get goals from anybody else, even Leao. But
Yeah, I like
Musa,
never see him on the score sheet anymore. What's going on with that?
Leao,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, I don't know, dude. Like,
Has he been like out or something?
yeah, he kind of fell out of graces with our previous manager, but we have a new manager now
How? He's
that's
your
starting
best
him and
player.
playing. Yeah, I don't know. He's just not doing super well right now. But anyways, with Yunus Musa, he got sent off. I can't remember what minute. I think it was the first half still, I think. And he got sent off with 2 yellows, red card. But he picked him up back to back because he got called for a yellow card, and watching the replay, yes, he didn't like barely touch the guy. The guy flopped, obviously. But he was just so irate and got like in the ref's face and got that second yellow card literally like 3 seconds right after he handed him the first yellow card for the foul. I was like, dude, like I understand you didn't touch him, but to get a second yellow card because you're just losing your mind on the field, it is just absolutely like uncalled for. So I was just like, that's a horrible look. And obviously, like, I mean, you can point to the red card and be like, yeah, they were down a man. That's why they lost. But it certainly didn't help. So I don't know what it is about these U.S. men's national team players getting horrible red cards and just blowing it. We had Weah in the freaking Copa America do that against Panama. So
The weight
whatever. I just had to
of being
mention
from the
that.
United States just too heavy for some, I guess.
I guess I don't know what's going on with them. Whatever.
Yeah, tough look for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know what's going on with these American players either, but Pulisic's just kind of, single-handedly, holding the torch for us. So, good performances by him, but ultimately, his team's not doing too great here
No.
recently. But we'll get into the last game here. The only run that really mattered as far as, in or out kind of vibe, but Man City. 3-1 winners over Club Bruges. Bruges not necessarily confirmed to be in. They were sitting on 11 points before the game started, but Man City go down early 1-0 where they
Yeah.
needed a win. They couldn't tie, they couldn't lose. They absolutely needed a win to get through. I was so hyped at work, dude. Like when they went down, I was like, dude, let's go. Like just park the bus,
Yeah.
man. Don't concede 2 goals. And then, rapid succession, um, you know, Man City just boom,
Tough.
boom, got ahead. They're still Man City at the end of the day, even though they've struggled mightily this season. And with that dub, Man City propelled themselves into 22nd, which was just 2 spots above the very last place to get into to the next round. Club Bruges, skin of their teeth, the very last spot. They're able to
Wow.
survive basically on goal difference. Dinamo Zagreb, which is the team that beat Milan that we were just talking about earlier, they basically lost it on goal difference. So tough way to go out if you're Dinamo Zagreb, but Bruges, they're going to be really thankful they didn't concede more goals throughout the Champions League season here. So, not huge teams that missed out on the next round of the Champions League, except for Leipzig. They've kind of been solidified as that second, third team in Germany. Absolutely abysmal Champions League campaign by them. 1 win in 8 games and 7 losses. So not a great showing by them. We talked a little bit about German teams struggling in the Champions League last week, excuse me. But Dortmund come up with a really good dub in their game, which solidified their spot. Bayern, I believe, won as well. So, at least the 2 bigger teams in Germany able to come away with victories there. Last point that we'll talk about here in the football or world soccer segment, just a little bit of a rant, I guess, by me about the format for this year. I think it's just absolutely just insane what the format is like now. It used to be, several groups of 4. You play the other 3 teams twice, home and away. It made sense. It's very easy to explain and everything. But now it's just, a free for all. 36 teams, which has been expanded from the previous, I believe it was 32. And you play just a random assortment of teams, really. 8 games, which obviously expands the number of games from 6 to 8. And you never play the same team twice, which I believe takes, it takes away from some of the rivalry that can be created. Like, oh, they got us on the first leg, like we'll get them on the second. And then like if you're drawn in the same group, like 3 out of 5 years or something like that, like rivalries can be created there. Now, like I said, it's just a free for all, and it's kind of a participation kind of thing as well. When 24 out of 36 teams get in, I think that's way too many to have get in, and obviously they now have the buys for the top 8 teams. But when you're getting in, like this didn't happen in the Champions League, there were teams with 3 wins, but in the Europa League that also concluded today, there were teams getting in with 2 wins and like 6 losses or like 4 ties or whatever. I feel like that's not what we want. Like it makes it way harder for the bad teams to push for those spots that are a little bit more coveted. Like I said, no real surprises as far as 25 through 36. except for Leipzig, like just teams that you don't really expect to get very far, which I think is just bad for the game. So I don't know what you have to say about it. I just think it takes away from the game. There's nothing wrong with the other format. If you really want to expand it, fine. Like you're expanding it by 4 teams, just create another group. I just trying to fix something that wasn't broken, but that's just kind of my 2 cents about that.
Yeah, I don't get why they did that either. Like no one was complaining about it. No one was saying that it was getting boring, like, kind of getting fatigued based on the old format. This format doesn't make it makes zero sense. Like, yeah, we got a little bit of drama at the end, really it was just because Man City wasn't Man City of old. Like, normally in past years they would have probably been fighting for one of the top spots near the end and at the end of the first stage. I want to say group stage, but it's not even group stage. Like it's just like the first stage now.
April,
so
yeah.
it's just it's just weird. And then top 8 gets buys, and then do they still do draws, or is it all based on seeding now?
The draw was done basically like an hour or 2 after the last game was played. So all the seeding is out, and you can kind of already see what your path is going to be. Like Arsenal, for example, like we'll be okay for the first round, but then we absolutely get destroyed with our draw in the next round. I think our potential opponents, if we get past the first round of the knockout stage, are like Bayern, Man City, Real Madrid, like just absolutely insane, path that we might have to take, which again, I think is whack because they used to do it in the Champions League. Once they're in the knockout round, they used to do a separate draw each round, like round of 16, quarterfinals, and then obviously semis. Yeah. It was already set, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like crazy draw. Real Madrid, Bayern in the next round. That's crazy. I don't see any like really. I mean, I guess Man City and Celtic just based on Man City's form right now. But other than that, there's not like
5-0.
I can see at Atalanta beating Dortmund, though. Like I could see that. But then other than that, kind of just some basic games, and then, yeah. I mean, Milan pulled PSV, so that's a good draw. But nothing too crazy except for like those 2 games. So. But that's a tough draw. Real Madrid and Bayern. Those are two of the teams, more so Real Madrid, but 2 teams that could definitely win this whole thing. One of them's going to be out after that. Are they doing 2 legs again, or is it just one?
It's 2 legs.
2 legs, okay. No away goals anymore, though. That's upsetting.
Which is also whack. But whatever. That's definitely a matchup you don't want to see until at least the quarterfinals, preferably the semis. But it is what it is. It's all to make more money, as we've kind of come accustomed to in all sports across the board now. So just kind of have to deal with it, or go find something else to do. So sure. That'll conclude the soccer part of the podcast here. Talking a little bit of football. Fezzy Boy is going to close us out with a little college basketball talk, and we'll maybe touch a little bit on the NBA as well. So let's get into that.
Wrapping up the pod with some basketball like we always do. We're going to take a look at some college basketball, but near the end have a bit of a hypothetical, and we're going to take a look at some NBA, one story in the NBA that's, in my opinion, a little funny. And I just saw some people talking about it. I figured we could talk about it because there's not a whole lot of basketball going on. We're halfway through the college basketball season. We got March fastly approaching. But with that being said, I know I asked you if you had any opinions on this, and you said you really didn't. So I'll give you kind of who I think I should win it, because it's a bit of a 2-horse race at the moment. But National Coach of the Year, the 2 candidates that everyone's talking about, we have Pat Kelsey at Louisville and Mark Pope at Kentucky, both doing, I would say, well, I guess I'll get into that a little later, because that kind of like tells you what my pick is. But both coaches coming into situations where they had to totally revamp the roster. By totally revamp, I mean get new rosters in, because all the players left when the old coaches left. They had, I think, both of them 0 scholarship players still on the roster when they took the helm at these respective programs. But if you were to ask me today who I think should get Coach of the Year, they're both in kind of similar situations, taking 2 programs that have obviously been staples in college basketball for a long, long time. Like we've talked on the podcast, me being a Louisville fan, like closet Louisville fan back in the day when they were making their national championship run and stuff like that. Obviously not doing super well the past 2 years, but I would give it to Pat Kelsey strictly because of this. Their situations are the same, but Louisville has been hammered with season-ending injuries this year. And on top of that, I think Mark Pope actually got some higher profile transfer portal transfers than Louisville did. Like, I mean, Pat Kelsey brought Rain Smith from Charleston, who he's playing really well right now. And then obviously someone we talk about a lot, Noah Waterman coming from BYU. Really, really good player, but I wouldn't say like, he's like super nationally known for anything. But Mark Pope's working with the likes of Lamont Butler, who obviously had that game-winning shot in the semifinals 2 years ago in the national in the tournament, and he has I'm blanking on names here. He brought a kid from BYU, Jackson Robinson, who's playing really well. Who honestly,
Brandon Garrison, boy,
Brandon Garrison.
State.
Wake Forest. He brought Carr, Andrew Carr. He brought from Wake Forest, who was a really good player at Wake Forest as well last year. So I just think Pat Kelsey's doing a lot more with way less. And one of his big transfer portal guys went out with a ACL for the rest of the season. So definitely picking up the pieces, and he has Louisville ranked. I think they're 23rd in the AP poll this past week. So doing well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you as the resident college basketball expert, like, do you what's your level of confidence with that? Because obviously he's got Louisville on a crazy game-winning streak and everything, but dealing with injuries. But if let's say they lose a couple and they fall out of the top 25, and they're in the top 5, I think probably in the ACC right now, but not really in contention with like Duke or some of the other guys up there. Like, do you think he still wins it? Like, if he's not in the top 25, like, can you really make a solid case for him, or like, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I think you have a point where if they fall
there's
out
25 other teams that are better. Like, there's like, I don't know. Yeah. Tom Izzo hasn't been good in a while. Like, the top 3 teams are, bad. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Tom Izzo is definitely up there doing.
He's an old name that people are probably exhausted just talking about, but.
Yeah, exactly. I think Pat Kelsey just recently kind of got into the top 2 conversation just based on like, oh, he has Louisville ranked and they're on like a 11-game winning streak. With that being said, the ACC is down. They did drop their ACC opener to Duke. In the first half they kept it close, but then Duke just kind of like turned it on at the end. So I don't know. It's hard.
What about a guy like Nate Oates at Alabama?
I think that's kind of fatigue as well, like voting fatigue as well. Because like the other thing too is they're looking at like new coaches coming into situations where no one thought they would do this well. Like no one had Mark Pope doing this well this fast. No one even had Pat Kelsey at all doing like this well this fast. So I think it's kind of more like what have you done for me lately type thing. And Alabama's been good for the past like 3 years. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you ask me today, I'd give it to Pat Kelsey just based on like the injuries that they're dealing with. And then Mark Pope's obviously he's in the better conference with the bigger name at the moment, I guess you can say. Like Kentucky hasn't fallen off the face of the earth like Louisville did the past 2 seasons. I think I just heard the stat today. I think it was like 5-36 in ACC play Louisville was in the past 2 seasons. They've already surpassed that this year. But that was just a little look at the National Coach of the Year race. We're going to get into a few of the bigger games. This game was crazy. I turned it on just because it was 2 names, big names in college basketball, Houston and Kansas. Watched the whole game. But the ending was the crazy part. Houston pulls out big win against Kansas in double overtime. But that's what I was doing before we got into the segment. I was pulling up the stats, like the percentage of like the win probability. And so near the end of the first half or the second half, I think it was like, yeah, Kansas had, with 17 seconds left in the second half, they had an 80% chance to win with 17 seconds left. And Houston got it to overtime. But the biggest one at the end of overtime, the first overtime, Kansas had a 94.6% chance of winning. I think it's higher. I can't get my yeah, right there. They had a 99% chance to win with 21 seconds left in the first overtime. And Houston found a way to get it back, tie it up and go into a second overtime. And then they took over in that second overtime and ended up winning. But I think the biggest story is the absolute collapse from Kansas. Obviously, Kansas was not the team that we expected last year. And this year we thought they'd do a little better. Bill Self kind of trying to revamp that roster with the transfer portal. Obviously has better pieces than they did last year, deeper roster and what have you. But again, just another, I don't know, what would you say, down season in the Big 12 this year, not doing so hot. But
compared
like
to
you kind of alluded to,
years, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to it last week on the pod. But like Kansas is just one of those teams that you can never count out when it comes to the tournament. So did you watch this game, and do you have any thoughts on Kansas kind of just falling flat on their face near the end of the game and in OT?
Yeah, I watched most of the game, especially the second half. I was pretty impressed with I forget his first name, but Griffin from Kansas. He's coming off the bench, giving him a bunch of minutes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was probably one of, if not the leading scorer on that Kansas team. So big time minutes off the bench is always good. But I was actually really, really impressed with Kansas. I'm blanking on his name right now. I think it was Jawan something, I want to say. I don't think he usually scores too much. Jawan Roberts, I think his name was. He had something like almost 30 points. Don't quote me on that, but I think he was the leading scorer, and he usually doesn't score too much. So I was really impressed with him, obviously, as well. I was like, dang, bro, I wasn't familiar with your game like that. So, huge win by them. Great mental fortitude to kind of stay in it. I feel like college, it's always kind of, anything can happen, but I feel like it's always a lot more likely that guys will get down. Like you're rattling off like the analytics or whatever, 94% chance to win or whatever. Like in a situation like that, young guys just, pack up shop, on to the next kind of thing. But, big time comeback by them. I feel like that's a lot of, big time credit to coaching as well, kind of keeping those guys mentally engaged. So huge win by them.
Yeah, for sure. Houston finds themselves in the top spot in the Big 12.
You're still getting used to them being in the Big 12. It's so weird.
Yeah, Houston. Where were they? They're American, right? They were in the American for the longest
American,
time.
AAC, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, one of those smaller conferences. But yeah, I think last year was their first season in the Big 12. They ended up winning that.
Yeah, it was like conference. Them, BYU, UCF, all these weird teams getting in there.
Weird teams getting in. And then this year, like they got Arizona now. Who else did they get? They got Oklahoma.
No,
a bunch of different.
Oklahoma's SEC. They left our conference. We didn't get them.
Is Oklahoma? You're right.
Oklahoma, Texas, that was the big two that went to the SEC.
That's right. We lost Texas. They went to the SEC. There was Utah. They were I forgot what conference they were in, but they joined the Big 12. Yep, Pac-12 when that disbanded. They came over with Colorado and Arizona. But speaking of Arizona, they get a huge win, and thanks to your boy Caleb Love hitting a crazy 3/4 buzzer beater to send the game to OT, and then they just took over in OT and beat Iowa State. Huge win for Arizona. A lot of people were saying, I don't know, man, they might even miss the tournament. They were just not doing
their
very
record
well.
Is not great.
Yeah, they had high expectations, but this win great win. Obviously a quad one win, which I still don't fully understand. But when you're beating a top 5 team in the nation, that's definitely going to help your resume trying to get into the tournament. Did you watch this game at all?
I watched a little bit of it. Not too much of it, unfortunately, but obviously I saw Caleb Love's crazy, like, what was it, 3/4 court, half court.
Yeah.
I feel like the crowd pop was like, were they playing at home?
Yeah, it
Do you
was
know?
at Arizona.
It was at Arizona. I was like expecting a way bigger like crowd pop than the guy. I feel like everyone was just so in shock that he made that. It was just like,
Right.
whoa, like what the heck just
Yeah,
happened? But
even the announcer was like, "Oh, he caught it too far. Game's over."
yeah,
And like boom, nails like swish that thing too. It wasn't even like banked it in or any nonsense like that. So
yeah,
definitely crazy scenes there in Arizona finding a way to beat Iowa State.
he's the funniest player, dude. I remember he would always take the last shot against UNC, and like, or when he was with UNC, and he would always
Yeah.
miss. I was like, why are we keep giving this guy the ball? Like,
Yeah.
what the heck? And then obviously he gets this shot. I don't know what his percentage is out, like the games I don't watch, but like we touched on in the last game, just what momentum will do for you, take you a long way.
Yeah, certainly. And I say it's Sammy's boy because I don't know if we mentioned it on the pod, but
We
we
did.
were it was just one day and we were watching college basketball. Like Sam was watching at his house, I was watching at my house, and he just texted me out of the blue. He's like, Caleb Love is still in college. I was like, yeah. He's like, what is this, like year 9 or something like that? And I was like, it's something. I think it is. It's like 6 or 7 because I think he's like redshirted a couple times, and then obviously he's still part of that COVID year era. So
Yeah,
just like,
I think we definitely did mention it, but all I know is that he was definitely in college when I was in college, and that was at least 3-4 years ago now. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, just wild. We got I think this is the last year of like those COVID players. So like after this
about time, man. Goodness.
it'll be the end of, I mean, there'll always be those outliers, but like just because of COVID, there was just
What was
so
that
many like
football
20.
player who was literally in his 9th year because he had like 2 injuries, like a red shirt, he had a COVID year, like he was literally in his 8th or 9th year.
Yeah, he's like
There's some
28
football
and still in
player.
college,
Yeah, it's
like playing college sports. Like,
crazy.
how's that even allowed? Like, I should go back to college. What's this all about?
Well, you got to
Holy
play a
cow.
sport there, bud. But
Oh, I can still go to college. They don't care how old you are to go to college. But I'm definitely too old and out of shape to play any sort of collegiate sport at this point. Rounding off our college basketball games, I put it in quotes because Sammy Boy kind of called me out last week for calling these two teams fakers, but we had a heavyweight battle of the fakers this past week with Kentucky topping Tennessee, which was kind of surprising because I think Kentucky was actually like 10-point dogs going into this game, going
wow,
into Tennessee, pulling out the win without Andrew Carr, without Lamont Butler. So Jackson Robinson had to play makeshift point guard. He had himself a day, but yeah, Kentucky topping Tennessee and playing really, really, really good defense, which was kind of my knock on them last week, why I called them fakers, because you're not going to go too far playing really good teams without playing good defense. But if they can somehow find a way to, I don't know, string some games together and play really good defense, this win stopped their 2-game skid. It would have been really bad if they went on a 3-game losing streak. But what do you guys say about your volunteers, Sammy Boy? You're a closet volunteer fan. You watched this game. What did you take away from it?
I love how you try to paint me as a Volunteers fan or whatever.
It's all right. You paint me as a Barca fan all the time.
Do you not root for Barcelona?
I do. Do you not root for Tennessee? Who are you
No,
rooting
not
for
really.
watching this game?
I mean, Tennessee, obviously. That doesn't make me a
Exactly.
Tennessee
There we
fan.
go.
Oh, my
Anyways,
goodness. No, I was impressed with Kentucky. Like you said, played defense really, really well. Took care of the basketball really well, which I think was a really big part of them. Not surrendering the lead in the second half. I feel like I could be mistaken here, but I don't think they even were down in the second half. So they obviously got the lead pretty early and were kind of able to hold on to it. There's a couple moments where Tennessee kind of put a run together, but yeah, obviously wasn't to be for them. I do still like a couple other players. Um, I think it's funny you tried to say I'm a Tennessee fan. I just like their coach, like Rick Barnes. He's been good everywhere, man. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of like that second tier kind of guy who's like he's not a Tom Izzo, he's not a Mark Krzyzewski or anything, Mike Krzyzewski or anything like that. But he's just that solid dude. Always gets his teams to the playoffs. Was at Texas before, so I'm just a coach of him and how he always gets his guys ready. But yeah, obviously I was impressed by Kentucky as well. So you still think that both of these teams are fakers or what?
I'm starting to lean more Tennessee. I mean, they were ranked number 1 for like the first like 4 weeks of the season. Kind of started losing once they got to SEC. But like, here's the thing.
Probably going to drop to the teens now, but
yeah, probably Kentucky's going to definitely take a jump. But no, here's the thing. I'm really not going to count out anybody in the SEC because everybody in the SEC is going to lose. I mean, Auburn's going to lose to someone at some point because the SEC is just so good top to bottom. So that's why I have fakers in air quotes because, like, I don't know, Tennessee could turn it on in the end of the season and win the national championship. Like, I think, and again, this is not analysis. This is just me kind of feeling everything out here halfway through the season. But like, I truly think that the national championship's going to be out of the SEC. Like one of these teams, and I'm probably going to pick Auburn. It's going to be really chalky, but Auburn in all the metrics is like top 5. Eye test top 5. Obviously in the AP poll, number 1, has the one of the players that is in the running for National Player of the Year. So they just kind of have the makings of a national championship, but that all goes out the window once we get to March. I was going to say,
if there's one thing I know about March Madness, anybody can beat anybody. It don't matter what you're ranked.
Exactly. So that's just me kind of feeling it out. But like really Kentucky or Tennessee. And like, again, we still have, I think like, I don't know, 6+ weeks left of the season for teams to figure out some things and
still have the tournaments and stuff.
It's if you're playing your best ball at the end of the year, that's all that really matters. And if you
March Madness is so whack too, because like the actual tournament doesn't start until like the second week, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the championship's always in April. So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But whatever.
But with this warm weather, dude, it's getting me all hyped for March Madness, dude. March Madness and fishing and all that fun stuff that's coming. It's gonna be great. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the college portion of this basketball segment. We're gonna do a little bit of a weird, fun segment here, just because there's this story kind of floating around sports media right now. Bronny James was called up in their last game against the 76ers. Played a few minutes because the Sixers were absolutely taking it to him. His coach, JJ Redick, literally saying that he didn't play well, but he liked his fight. I guess that was the quote, or his energy that he brought, whatever that means. I don't know how much energy you can bring. I have like 2 stats here just to kind of paint a picture for you guys. I couldn't find the actual number, but it's been 30+ minutes that Bronny James has played in the NBA. He has 4 points. 4 points to show for that. I think he's 0 for whatever from 3-point range, and then like 1 for whatever from 2-point range, and then like his other 2 points other than that one shot is from the free throw line. So I don't know. I don't know what you got to say about this. I've seen Stephen A, Greeny, Colin Cowherd talk about this, and they're all just like, you got to stop doing this, LeBron. You got to stop doing this to your boy. You're the reason he's here. Now you got to stop embarrassing him. So I don't know. What do you got to say about this whole Bronny James situation going on?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the experts on this one. Bronny's obviously not ready for the NBA. Since you decided to make a whole segment on roasting Bronny, I brought up his game log for the season. 44 total minutes, only has 4 points, averaging 0.3 points, out of all the games that he's played. Like you said, he was in for quite a bit against Philly, but he was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3 turnovers. Just tough out there, man. Like, obviously was not prepared to enter the NBA when he did. I mean, he wasn't even starting for USC, bro. Like, what are we doing here? Obviously, he was forced in the NBA way early. obviously he's been doing decently well in the G League, which obviously looks like a little bit more his speed. But yeah, like I think it's totally LeBron like just forcing him up there, which is just wild to me. Like let it go, bro. Like you made the history that you wanted to make, like playing with him like in the first season or the first game of the season. Like there's no
Yeah.
need to keep bringing him up when he's obviously not up to standard at all. Like he's not even able to really score. Like he's taken a lot of shots like in the games that he's played in the garbage time minutes that he has, but um yeah, just he's 1 for 16 from the field, 0 for 7 from three.
That's
Like, come
crazy.
on, bro. I think he has a couple free throws in there or something, but yeah, dude, like just crazy. But yeah, LeBron, stop pulling him up there. Like you're doing him wrong. I just feel bad for him at this point. Like,
Yeah, me
it's
too.
not his fault. Like just it's just because you're the son of the top three greatest players in the league, and he just doesn't want to like but it's tough.
Yeah.
I would suck if it was, I wouldn't like it if I was him, but whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned this off pod, but like he definitely should have stayed in college.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he would have obviously gotten more ready for the NBA. But like even if he didn't end up playing in the NBA, like he just wasted 3 years of like playing high level basketball and having like a good time with his friends to go to this situation where it's all about his dad, and it's like,
yeah.
well, we all know why you're here. It's because of your dad, even though like
I feel like
they
it's
won't.
yeah. I feel like it's so selfish by LeBron too. Like LeBron isn't retiring this season or next. Like he can obviously be in the NBA and still have Bronny come up like next year, even the year after that. Like he's still a starter in the NBA. Like he's gonna at least come off the bench like 40
Mm.
whatever like LeBron. So you can still make the history that way. But like forcing him through so early is just yeah, it's not great. But
Yeah,
anyway, sorry to
it's tough.
interrupt you.
And like I get that he's had good games in the G League, but it's the G League. It's like
It's different speed.
that just shows me that like maybe Bronny would have turned out to be like a decent college basketball player. Like he's
Right.
dropping like 30, like he has like 2 30-point games in the
I
G
saw
League.
one he
Like
had like 44. Maybe that was
yeah.
I don't know.
So like yeah, I definitely think like I he won't ever say it, and I could just be totally speculating, but like if I were him, I would be totally regretting my decision because it's just a bad situation. Like how much are you going to develop into a
It
NBA?
wasn't his decision.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But anyways, this leads me into kind of my hypothetical funny question of the pod to finish it off. But we all see the memes and the reels about like people saying like, oh, like if I was put in an NFL game, would I be able to pick up 4 yards in an NFL game or pick up a yard in an NFL game? And then another one's, would you be able to score 6 points in an NBA game if you played the whole game? So I'm gonna pass it to you. Do you think that you could score, let's go 4 points like Bronny, if you played a full NBA game? Because this is what I'm thinking. If we played Bronny, like Bronny showed up to our Tuesday and Thursday rec league games, he would absolutely destroy us.
I
Like
mean,
he would
it's not
destroy
even.
everybody.
No, he's scoring every time.
Exactly. So like a guy that's like not bad at basketball, but obviously not an NBA player, only scoring 4 points,
I mean,
and
he's
I think
still
you said,
D1. Like, I mean,
yeah.
it's not even comparable.
So,
Playing with
but
old men.
that just made me think like all these people in the real comment sections on Instagram saying, "Oh yeah, I totally could get 6 points." I don't know, man. I think it'd be a little harder than they think. What say you?
Um, well, going back to your 1 yard in the NFL, no shot. No shot am I
Yeah,
getting that. There's no way.
no,
Dude, Aiden Hutchinson would touch me one time and I'm broken. But anyway, in the NBA, like if I get an open shot, like there's always a chance like that I'm gonna make it.
yeah,
Like that's the thing with Bronny. Like you look at his like reel from the games, like he's getting open shots, he's just missing all of them, which is kind of funny. But if I'm getting an open shot, man, there's always a chance. But I mean, that's assuming that I'm gonna get an open shot. I just don't think that there's any way. Like the speed of the NBA, like those guys can close on you in 0.5 seconds. So
I know,
do I think I could get 6 points? No. 2 points? 0.5% chance, maybe. Otherwise,
maybe,
no shot. No way.
yeah,
It's not even
yeah.
it's not even a discussion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But here's the thing, like you got to think about like if someone saw me on an
Just treat
NBA
me like a
court,
center that can't shoot. Maybe I can get a couple of that.
maybe, yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like if like someone sees me on an NBA court, they're like, this guy can't play at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe that one surprising three ball because they're not closing out. They're like, this guy can't even shoot, and you get that one three ball to go down. But that's the surprising thing, like you said with Bronny, because even coming out of the combine, he was like top in one of their like 3-point drills, and I was like, oh man, Bronny can shoot the ball and he can play defense. No, can't shoot the ball, can't play defense. Bron, figure it out because you're just embarrassing your boy out there at this point. It's bad. We
Just
all
gotta
see
wait for
it.
Bryce, man. He's the best baller out of the
Yeah,
three.
Bryce is a real deal. He's going to Zona. Did you see that?
You saw
He's
that,
going
yeah.
there.
Good for him.
Go.
Kind of, getting away from LA a little bit.
That's true. I do like that. I do like that.
Caleb Love,
Commitment.
man. Him and Caleb Love.
I know Caleb Love's got to have like 3 more years of eligibility, man.
Yeah.
Imagine
Right.
some stupid freaking, I don't know, NIL freaking nonsense goes on and Caleb Love plays until he's like 30 in high school or in college. Yeah,
The good
that'd
money.
be absolutely nuts. But yeah, that was just a bit of fun because I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like, could I actually get 4 points? And the answer is probably not. Probably not. But anyways, I think that's a pod, Sammy.
That is a pod.
That is a pod. We appreciate you guys again for tuning in this week. We've been pretty consistent, which I'm pretty happy with. We've had a episode for you guys every week. Next week we got a big one coming for you guys, so stay tuned for that one. We're gonna have some fun with the next one. I won't give away what we're doing, but hope you guys will go check us out on our platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like and subscribe. That'd help us out a lot. And we will catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.
Peace.